Hello. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good,
That's fantastic.
man. So
Really happy.
this is our last discussion over the book thief. I'll start off. Um, I know we didn't finish the book, but overall, what did we think of it? Like, of what we read, what do we think?
I mean, there were some parts of the book that kind of twisted your arm a bit, made you tear up a bit, made you contemplate everything. But other than those moments, I didn't really like this book.
Fair.
My thoughts on it was it wasn't really my favorite kind of book, but I like how it was a German version of how the World War II and all that went, and how much in trouble you can be in stealing books back then and stuff.
I would probably have the same opinion as Taylor. Like, it's cool to see German point of view of World War II and whatever else happened in the rest of the book.
Yeah, I agree with you guys too. It's a good book because it's good to see like the German side, but um, it just takes too long to get into it. Too many details. It's we don't want it to jump straight to the point or the climax or like give the story away, but
I'm
it just takes too long.
Get to it faster.
personally, I feel like if they didn't have that beginning part on page 5 where the first page of the book, I think it might have been, where it says, "Here's a small fact: you are going to die." That probably would have made the book more interesting because now we just kind of figured that everybody was going to die.
Yeah.
And it just so once I read that, I was just, wow, think.
Yeah. Okay. Taylor.
Question.
Which characters do you view as just, unjust, or brave, or cowardly, and why?
Um.
Personally, for just and brave, I would say um, Mr. and Mrs. Huberman for letting Max live with them. No matter, even if they did get caught, they would be killed. They were willing to put their lives out to save another.
um, I personally thought Rudy was pretty brave because I think it was in one of the chapters where he's at the school where they're I think it's this one, this chapter.
Wow. Okay.
Where's that guy?
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it was Tommy Muller or Rudy. I think it was Rudy. They were at the class or whatever, and they kept asking him when is Hitler's birthday, and even though he didn't know, well, he knew, but he just kept telling him no because he didn't like the people, and they were just making him mad. And eventually, he eventually got out of there, and then he eventually had the courage to step a little out of his comfort zone, especially with since he got moved to a different class to where he could it was like aviation and like learning about flight school and whatnot. He kind of opened up, and he started actually talking and whatnot, and he started building the model airplanes, and he was in like a physical well, I don't know if I'd call it PE, but it was in some type of class that was like it's kind of like an exercise class, and he did pretty well in that class, and he kind of lost.
My thought on my question from two. I think Rudy was a little coward, like coward, cowardly. Because 275 to 276, when I believe it was Victor Chamel or whatever, he was like the leader of stealing stuff and all that. He was hurting him and all that. I think he could have maybe be a little more manly and brave and maybe stuck up for himself instead of letting him hurt him, besides saying he was getting hurt and he really wasn't.
I would have to say that Book Thief herself is, in my opinion, the strongest because she's taking the chance of either life or death. Because if they get caught, probably gonna die.
Next question.
It's going to be yours.
Yeah, yours.
How do you guys think Ilsa Herman knew about Liesel's book stealings? It was on page 369.
369. Hold on a second, 'cause it says somewhere because like they got the letter or whatever.
Yeah, inside the book.
The dictionary, yeah.
And then Ilsa told her to look it up if she didn't know what it meant.
It says, but I must tell you that I am not so stupid as to see your footprints in the library when I noticed the first book missing. I thought I'd simply misplaced it, but when I saw the outlines of some feet on the floor in certain patches of light, it made me smile. And then it says, when Lizel came back the second time, it says, I could hear you last time, but I decided to leave you alone. So I think, states that he saw like the footprints, like the dust on the ground, or just smudges on the wood floors. Maybe I think they have wood floors in their house. Smudges on the wood floors, just stuff like that. And then last time,
Who do you think has the most power in like a little group of thieves, if you want to call them that?
Okay, I think Lysla has more power in the book because
He's talking about like the food stealing game.
all the food. Well, I think the Victor guy or whatever part of the book, or do you mean out of the two, Lysla and
Like out of all the people in there, who would you feel is the strongest part of the game? Is that what you meant?
what you meant, like just in the book in general? Yeah. Is Max part of the game?
no,
Mm-hmm.
it's Lizel,
Arthur?
Rudy, Victor.
Arthur.
Wait, no, Victor's not in there. He's the enemy.
I know Rudy tries to gain more power and part of the group,
Yeah.
Otto.
but fails.
Otto, Rudy, Lizel, and Arthur Bird.
Out of that, who do you think has the most potential power?
I'd honestly say Arthur because on page 163 it says, as tempting as it was to keep the victory to themselves, they were overpowered by a sense of loyalty to Arthur Bird. So basically they just kind of like showed their respect for him for being their leader.
So Arthur has the most power because he's the leader. So yeah.
If I had to pick any of them, probably be probably Liza. Well, no, Power. I would say Arthur Burke. Because it's not that he's rich or anything, but he kind of controls the whole group and whatnot, and he's kind of bossy and demanding and whatnot.
Shows leadership.
Yeah, he kind of takes charge and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. All right. Why do you think Liesel gives Max Vandenberg like all like the stuff from the streets, like the squished, like the mangled army guy, the pine cone, I think like a bottle cap too, and then the deflated soccer ball, and a couple other things.
Because since Max wasn't allowed out of the house, he probably wouldn't have had any opportunities to see all that stuff himself. So she would like collect stuff and bring it to him, so he could see like what was outside.
Maybe it could have also been to say if she did die or whatever, and then maybe he could remember.
Remember the outside world maybe a little
Yeah.
bit since he's been in hiding for so long. Makes sense, yeah. Taylor?
I don't really have anything on it because I don't know that part.
Question then Buffer.
Okay.
Me?
You got a question, bud.
From there are resistance that and acts and all that, like resistant acts and all that in the book, right? Is there any in the book that you favorite the most? For example, like Rudy with Victor and all that. He's getting hurt. Like resisting. That's how that he's getting hurt when he really isn't. You know what I mean?
Like, what do you mean? Like,
Like, what does the author intend with the inclusion of these acts? Like,
Probably to like make you feel a bit of sorrow, I would say, for like him having to go through all that and not being able to really do anything about it. And him having to just sit there and take it. Because otherwise he'd just get beat up more.
I think, I'm trying to think, who's another one, another person in the book who's kind of getting beat down and just beat up. Yeah, I think Rudy, because another thing that goes along with that would be when the drill sergeant, when one of the teachers kept asking him a question, he just kept getting beat, but yeah, he still, well, he knew, but he just decided not to answer.
Like he didn't feel comfortable answering.
Yeah,
was it about Hitler?
Yeah, his birthday, yeah.
His
birthday.
Was it a question about where he's like, when was his birthday and all that?
Yeah, when's the Fuber's birthday? That's what he asked.
Just think he was doing it because he didn't want to show respect for Hitler.
Yeah, because it says in the book, he says, I hate Hitler.
I hate Hitler and I'm going to bow down
Yeah.
to the Fuhrer, what you want to call it.
True.
I don't know, maybe make you feel guilty or maybe something like that. Because I don't really know.
Question?
On page 412, why do you think Liesel would picture Rudy naked?
Maybe she was catching feelings. That's all I gotta say.
I'm not sure.
Cause like it, but like the only thing that had anything about naked people was like on page 413 when it said bull. Um, the unfortunate Jurgen Schwarz undid his uniform with great discomfort. He was left standing only in his shoes and underwear. A luckless bleed was marooned on his German face. And Herr Heckenstaller asked the shoes. He removed both shoes, both socks, und die Unterhosen, and said the nurse, and the underpants. Both Rudy and the other boy, Olaf Spiegel, had started undressing now as well, but they were perilous, nowhere near the perilous position of Jurgen Schwarz. The boy was shaking. He was a year younger than the other two, but taller. When his underpants came down, it was with abject humiliation that stood in the small, cool office. His self-respect was around his ankles. The nurse watched him with intent, her arms folded across her devastating chest. Heckenstaller ordered the other two to get moving. The doctor scratched his scalp and coughed. His cold was killing him. The three naked boys were each examined on the cold flooring. They cupped their genitals in their hands and shivered like the future.
Basically a checkup, though.
I didn't read that. I didn't make that.
All it sounds like you're saying like a doctor checkup. Cough for me.
I think this was
Physical examination.
Yeah.
Like a physical for
Like a
sports
physical.
or something, or like make sure they're up to date and ready to go.
what? Why would that make any sense?
Was it because they were like captured or something?
That's what it sounded like. Cause
Captured and like
what
Maybe
would
she
they
was
need a physical for?
maybe to see if they're worthy of.
Be worthy of what?
I don't know. They're
Oh,
captured.
maybe-
Maybe they're examining if they don't have any issues. I guess I don't know.
maybe if they have something, they get
They
put somewhere
just-
else, and then
You just toss them to the side. I don't know.
like the best ones go somewhere else or something.
Maybe the best one out of the three. They picked the healthiest one. I don't know.
Right.
I'm unsure. Trevor.
I don't know what she was. The part that they're thinking of naked.
That was the title of the chapter.
Trevor.
Where do you think the people hide the books, or what do you think they do with the books after they're done reading?
I feel like I think they'd keep them.
Like, where do they hide them?
Maybe they'd hide
Like,
Or like what do they do with them after?
are you asking like what does Liesel do with the books that she's stolen after she's done reading? Is that what you're
So she either keep them, or try to get rid of them, put them back without getting caught.
Or she stashes them somewhere. For example, I don't know what page, but she had the book of the burial one. What else
Grave
called?
digger?
The grave digger under her bed.
At the beginning,
I think maybe she's doesn't want to take the chance of getting caught, and she's hiding them somewhere. I think it's somewhere in the beginning where her dad found it making the bed or pulling the sheets off. There's the beginning of the novel or the book.
I think maybe
yeah, on page
maybe
54.
she gives them
Page
to Max
54.
Vandenberg to read, maybe because doesn't he know how to read? Well, I think he knows how to read.
Or her
But-
dad. Or
No, the Jew. Maybe he gives the
maybe when she's done, she gives the books to them.
yeah for him to read maybe. But then again, well, never mind. That's my next question. Never mind.
Maybe I don't know. I was gonna say maybe she knows the consequences of having the Jew, so maybe if he had the books too, then it would probably lock towards him. Since he's gonna get caught, he'd probably get sent away anyway. But I'm not sure if she knows the consequences.
But then again, she probably has to hide the books because I don't think
Parents.
yeah her parents know about them.
Maybe the boy. Maybe she informs him and he hides them himself.
Or maybe she leaves them at school or something.
No, she's hiding them somewhere. That's all we know.
Alright. Alright. Why does Liesel read to Max Vandenberg when he's in the bed from collapsing next to the fireplace?
Probably since like he had like nothing better to do. He wasn't strong enough. And I don't think Mac could read, did he?
Well, like he wasn't like
Wait, yeah,
he was still alive, but he
Mein
wasn't
Kampf.
like well, yeah, he
He
just
wasn't healthy.
well,
You said he collapsed.
yeah, he collapsed, but he wasn't like eyes open and everything. He was just kind of laying there. That's why I'm wondering why was she, you know, it was almost like he was in like a mini coma because he was just kind of like for like a couple for like 3 or 4 days, I think it was, or like a week maybe.
What would cause it?
I mean, he wasn't knocked out or anything. He was just like he was next to the fireplace and he just collapsed, and they picked him up, put him in one of the beds.
Just maybe a medical problem that probably
I'm just
gave
wondering.
him
Wait,
a concussion. Or
I'm just
something.
trying to wonder here. Why was she?
like
reading
why was
to
she
him?
reading to him?
Yes, when he
He
was.
became paralyzed.
Maybe like she was trying to like comfort him in a way.
Maybe if the chance that it was to die, it kind of go out peacefully.
Yeah.
To the sounding voice of the story, didn't told him. Soothing,
Yeah, I think maybe she was.
just comforting him.
Yeah, comforting him because you know he never really. The only book, well, as we know of, the only book he read was Mein Kampf. He didn't really. He used that book to get through like to make it seem like he wasn't Jewish, so he could get to the Huberman's house, and whatnot.
And then possibly she wants him to experience more books than what he has.
Next.
When Dutch said, "Here's a small fact: you are going to die," what do you think he meant by that?
I think he means that like, uh, everyone dies at the end, you know. Just thought of
They're
that.
also dying.
I just thought of that. Fine. What you gonna do? Well, nah, that's not.
Stand.
But nah, I think what he's trying to say is everyone dies. You know, I mean, obviously they grow up, you know, and whatnot, but everyone dies. You know, whether it's peaceful, hopefully it's peaceful, or you know, accidentally, maybe you fall off or you drown, you know, fall off something or you drowned or something.
Or horrible death.
Well, yeah, but I mean, or like sickness or something. I think he just says that not like he's like not going to kill you or anything, but that's just everyone dies, you know. You don't live forever, I guess is what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
Basically, you're born, you live, and then you die.
It's been, yeah, everyone dies at some point.
Personally,
Yeah.
I feel that like what he
Covered
meant
it.
was honestly, I feel like because I don't think Faisal died in the end of it. I know Papa did, but
Maybe she had maybe she got lucky, close on near life death situation. Maybe they thought she was too young.
no, because I don't think.
Maybe she does die, but it doesn't. It's just not giving us enough.
Not telling us like what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but maybe there's some hints we're not catching.
yeah, maybe.
It's like if the death is the narrator.
I feel like
Death
this
is the
is.
narrator.
Yeah,
I feel like this is one of those books where like they give you like little like key hints like all the way throughout the story. Like here's a connection. Like one time I watched this movie and basically throughout the movie like this guy is like he's with another group and they're trying to find something or like a buried treasure or whatever. And basically early on in the story he meets this guy and they well he hits him with his car and he stick with it here. He you know he kind of goes outside and it's like everything's gonna be okay, you know, and he thinks he saved them and like they're like the whole group of people is like together and the guy he hit he's there, you know, and you know he's telling the guy like you know just talking to him and whatnot and giving him advice and whatnot. But then at the end of the story, like at the end of the movie, he's actually dead, and that the guy was just kind of like he was just kind of seeing him there. No one else could see him. He was just kind of envisioning him that he was there. And like all throughout the movie, just like the book, I feel all throughout there's like little hints given off, you know, little, like blurbs, little, you know, certain details of the, story. Especially in here, there's probably a bunch of things that's, just a bunch of details and whatnot that are being given. Yeah, foreshadowing. Yeah, kind of like foreshadowing events or future events.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Do we still have the same feelings about the effect of the dominoes on the front of the book?
Yeah, because I feel like eventually, like, what the cover was trying to symbolize was that all things will come to an end eventually. Just like eventually, like once these dominoes like cause that chain reaction and they all just like fall over, it'll just end.
Maybe value it as much as you can because it always will end, and always will go downhill, fall.
Yeah, basically, yeah, like you spent all this time like building it up just for it to come crashing down.
What if like the dominoes represent like
People.
Liesl's lifespan. Like she set him up, which was her growing up, and then she hit him, and they just kind of went down. And that was her stealing the books, stealing the apples. This was kind of like the timeline
Maybe
of the
that's-
story, kind of like that. Yeah.
That's what I was kind of going for.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
that's
just
her.
worded it different.
Maybe that's her in the cover with her finger manipulated.
It looks like a male finger, not a cat.
Maybe she has man fingers.
I don't think so.
Okay, come on, guys. Let's stay on topic here. Good question, Trevor.
I probably
Okay.
your parents want you not having more
I
questions.
already asked all my questions.
I have one more. Why do you think the author's purpose was to choose Death as narrator? And is Death a trusty narrator, and how does Death see things a human narrator does not see?
For me, I feel like Death would probably be the best narrator in the story because, like,
He could see things
yeah,
that
he would see like everything
already happened.
Yeah, and he just kind of,
Hey, I'm here.
yeah, and it'd be like, I mean, like a person narrator, like they'd basically just be telling the story of what they were told. But like, if it was Death, like he would cover everything and actually like truthful about it, I would say. Yeah, good question.
That's a good question, man. I don't really know. That's a pretty good question. I wasn't prepared for that. I'm not sure. I mean,
I think Death is more of the narrator because most of these people in our story, I think, are mostly, maybe it's because none of them are able to tell the story because they all do die from, maybe the parents and Liza do die because of the Jew gets fined, so they get taken and all that, and maybe Liza dies from getting caught, and Rudy.
Getting accused for being a Jew.
Maybe that's like why. Maybe Lizel did die, but basically it just after she died, it just like replayed all the things
Yeah.
from that, from her stealing the book up until she got caught.
dominoes. It's playing. It's kind of like a movie. It's playing her life.
It's like,
Each domino is an event that happened in her life. Like maybe the first one was her being born, and then maybe a couple more down was them getting on the train and the train or wagon and going to Himmel Street, and another one would be her brother dying, you know, and then another one would be moving in with the Hubermans, and then getting Max, or hiding Max, meeting Rudy, playing soccer, these are all events in her life, and maybe she's clicking them, and they're playing almost like movie
I think it's all adding up
timeline.
because all these characters are like breaking a rule and all that, and are having life-threatening things that could lead them to death. Since I think everyone died, so death has to be the narrator because there's no one to tell the story. Since the parents are keeping the Jews, so they are getting punished for that and all that. Maybe die. The Jews basically concentration camp probably, or death too. Liza probably got killed for stealing the books, and then Rudy probably got accused for stealing and all that, and they just maybe died from being like captured and all that in jail.
I got something to add. Because, like, so one of the first raids of the book.
Honestly, have good winter break.
What are we doing? We're having a discussion.
Sorry, man.
Sorry, I love you.
Please, man.
But after one of the first raids, in the story, like, everybody, like, one of the bombs landed on her street, and she was the only person that survived out of the entire
Seriously?
the entire neighborhood. Yeah.
Wow.
It says, after Hans returns home, bombs fall on Liesel Street in Molking, killing every one of her friends, family, and neighbors. Liesel, working on her manuscript in the basement at the time of the raid, is the sole survivor. Devastated, she is taken in by the Hermans, and after the war reunites with Max. Years later, after having lived a full life, Liesel dies and greets death, who shares with her that he saved her manuscript after the bombing.
Oh. Well, there's the ending.
So basically, like, what happens is Liesel, like, wrote down everything, but death is just retelling it.
Oh, okay.
Or I thought I was gonna say waiting around the corner.
So maybe she was writing a book about this herself. Maybe she learned how to read, and maybe she was, maybe she was stealing the books, reading them, and maybe just kind of like, I wouldn't say be doing blackout poetry, but kind of like
Teaching
Like,
yourself.
writing the book from the book she has, maybe using words or using, just stuff, like the cover of the book, make her own book.
Yeah, make your own story.
To make the story of her life.
Basically, what I was thinking.
Scrapbook,
Maybe
kind
she's
of.
writing like all the things that she did. Kind of was like
The timeline.
out all the things that like led up to her, like that built her character. I feel like she was just trying to like relive those past moments, so she would write them down, so she wouldn't forget.
Well, that's everything.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Let's
Seems good.
debrief. So,
I feel like we did good today. I feel like we were on topic. Had some pretty good questions. Had some pretty good answers. Schwab used insight and connection proudly.
I tried. I feel like, I feel like we all did good. We all had good questions. We all had facts. We all got evidence from the book. I feel like everyone, we were on task today, which we did better than last time.
No messing around.
Yeah, we were
on
focused this
task
time.
at all last time.
I think this is probably one of our, not because it's the last discussion, but I think this was probably one of our best discussions.
I think this one and the one up in the ISS room.
Kylie Sweeney, Ashley Mays, and Michelle Flesh to the office, please.
All right.
So is that it?
They have to debrief.
I believe we did better. No goofing off and getting off topic and side talking, and yeah.
Well, as we all said, I think this was by far the best, and there was no Hitler talk like last time.
All right. That's wrap.
All right.
That's it, boys.
Bye.